everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another flight simulator video with me, Crafty Simulations. Now, we have been covering quite a few aircraft from Carenado. Now, I've got to say, I have heard that people don't particularly enjoy Carenado aircraft. And I would say, on the flip side of that argument is, they're actually pretty darn good. I haven't found a bad one yet. Now, yes, I would say, I'll be perfectly honest and perfectly open, the handling may be a tad bit different than what you are expecting. But you can't really compare them up against the likes of Just Flight and Cows and all the other A2A. You can't do that because A2A is probably one of the best ones out there. Just Flight have released some brilliant G8 aircraft, and obviously Cows. They're always going to get my fan favourite because they are pretty darn awesome. But Carenado do release a much bigger varied selection of aircraft at a different price point, and that's the key point I have here for you guys now. Don't rate off Carenado, don't say they're bad or all that kind of stuff. They have a very good price point, and they have, for that price point, very good aircraft. And they do, like I say, cover a lot of general aviation aircraft. Now, what you see before you today is the WYMF5. And I like to call this thing a Stearman on steroids. A Stearman being an American classic biplane trainer aircraft from the pre-war era. This thing is a biplane, again, from a long time ago, but it is a very good aircraft, and I like it, and I think it's fantastic, and that's why it's going to feature in the channel as another Carenado review. So, what is the WYMF5, and what does it include with its feature list here from Carenado themselves? So they say, this is off their website themselves, real engine and wind sound effects. Now I've got to say the sound effects on this thing are actually really, really good. Exactly what I expected for this kind of aircraft. Again, sort of sounding like a Stearman. Original high-quality digital stereo sounds recorded directly from the real aircraft, which includes the engine, the knobs and switches, buttons and different elements. So they've really gone to town on the sound effects. And I always say, you can make an aircraft look fantastic. I mean, let's face it, it does look fantastic. But if the sounds aren't there, it's not believable, it's not going to be that good. Realistic flight dynamics compared to the real aircraft. Realistic weight and balance tested by several pilots for maximum accuracy. Now, I'm going to take this as face value. I'm not calling Carenado liars or anything like that. I know they've done their homework. I know there are a lot of people here that would say, maybe it's not that realistic to a real aircraft, whichever aircraft that is. But I do find it fun to fly, and I find it believable. And, I mean, I've never flown one of these things. I think I've only seen one or two of them in all my time of existence at various air shows. But I would like to think that it is a fairly realistic version of the real aircraft. And as realistic as we're going to get, because let's be honest, we're just sat at a computer screen. So we have PBR materials and textures. So this is something to do with the way the aircraft looks. I'll show that in a bit of detail in a minute. And we have a tablet interface for controlling the static elements, pilot, and etc. And starting options such as a cold and dark ready taxi. Now, obviously, this aircraft has featured before by Carenado in previous sims, which will be FSX, P3D, and X-Plane. I do believe. I'm not sure about X-Plane. Not really too much evidence of that. I haven't been on it too much. So they have used a previous version of this aircraft and brought it into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, I think that's all right. I know there are aircraft out there, ports, I think you call them, that are ported over from previous sims, but they lose certain functionality because there's some things in FSX that will not work in 2024 as a sim, or 2020. This aircraft is fully functional. So Carenado have done their work. Now let's go back and having a look at what this thing actually looks like. It's quite a unique looking aircraft. Obviously, it is a biplane. And it's a big, junky mother humper of a biplane. Kind of a long-distance cruiser for a biplane. Fixed undercarriage with, obviously, the aerodynamic fairings, I want to call that. Wheel fairings? Might be getting that right, might not be. But it is of a different age, this aircraft. weirdly, as a UK registration, so there must be a UK variant somewhere. But good lighting. I do love this. Really good lighting. I believe this will be a fabric wing stretched over a in a frame, a spine system, ribs, all that kind of stuff. That's probably what it would be made of. The lower wing looks like it's fabric as well because it's stretched over that, but I would guess this is a metal fuselage, metal, obviously engine cover and all that. I would say the tail structure, the rudder here, is obviously, again, a fabric system. But it looks really, really good. I mean, people say Carenado aircraft don't look like the real thing. I think this looks possibly one of the best aircraft they've designed, or certainly one of the best aircraft I've featured on the channel. We do have a wooden fixed prop, fixed propeller. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but yeah, it's a classic wooden prop blade, so that kind of lends itself to the age that this aircraft comes from. But yeah, it is a lovely looking aircraft. I still cannot get over how Carenado do this. They do create very, very good aircraft. Obviously a realistic looking pilot. This would be a twin-seater, so we would have the passenger sat up front like most biplanes would. I don't know what the hooks are for. I can't imagine you hook this aircraft and, like, you know, put it on a Christmas tree or something silly like that, but I don't quite know why the hooks are there for. But it is realistic. Moving on to the interior. Now, you may look at it and go, oh, that's a biplane, it's ancient. But we have had a few little updates here and there in this aircraft, and it's been brought to a standard that I would say would be what a real WYMF5 aircraft would be classed as. I think I've got the title right. Obviously, it is a biplane, it is old. We would have instrumentation. I mean, this is newer instrumentation here. Obviously, we have, what do we have here? This is obviously a transponder. The Bendix King system, I've no idea what that's for. Again, electrical communications. Talking of communications, we've got the Bendix King style of radio stack, which we've seen in numerous aircraft over the years. We do have fuses here. Again, it's Carenado. They're not going to make these fuses clickable. Okay, I don't think that's a negative. Yes, it's something this aircraft doesn't have that other aircraft do have. I don't think it's something that breaks the deal for me when it comes to this particular aircraft. I think it's functional. I think it works just fine. Wooden floors. We have the tablet down there, the usual style of Carenado tablets. I won't cover that because obviously it's pretty much the same as any other tablet. A lot of struts and braces, wing braces connecting these wings. I think they're fuel tank readers. Thinking must be fuel tanks in the top wings. Nothing to do with the movement of the wings, the flight controls. But yeah, I would say these are fuel tank readers. It comes from that era. So we are currently sat at Imperial War Museum Duxford once again. I thought this would be a good place to fly this aircraft from. So yeah, we'll have a little flight round in this aircraft and I shall see what this aircraft is really all about. So let's jump in. Let's hope Trackir is still working. It is, my God. Times I have problems with Trackir. Right, okay, so I remember where the controls are on this thing. Battery. Alternator. Fuel pump selected on. Beacon light is now on. Avionics can come on after we've got the engine up and running. Talking of which, full mixture. Crack the throttle. Now, weirdly, we do have a sound effect for the prop pitch. Yet I know for a fact that blade does not move. So that's weird. Could be a Carenado thing. Right, so lighting is all set and everything. Brakes are set. Max through to both. And we'll listen to this on the outside because this aircraft does sound good. So we'll have a clear pop. Very good sound effects. Got a little reflection off the wheel fairings of the beacon light. What more can you say? This is a very, very good aircraft. We'll have the transponder on, please. Thank you. So let's roll out to the runway. Don't have any flaps in this aircraft. Always something you have to worry about when you're flying a tail dragger aircraft is the forward visibility. We don't have any. So you are having to weave the tail if you want to see what's ahead of you. Right, so we're clear up front. Let's see what she's like to fly. .80 knots and airborne. 80 miles per hour even in airborne. I think one thing we are missing is some wind noises, because I would imagine this would be quite a windy sounding aircraft. We do have a forward canopy, but it is an exposed cockpit. There's a bit of wind noise, I suppose. Once we're airborne, we do have quite good visibility. Turn the sound up a little bit. Hopefully you can hear that. This aircraft not fitted with an autopilot, so if you're planning on some long distance flying, you're flying it by stick and reading a map. So not an aerobatic aircraft by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got fairly good responsive roll. It's sort of what you'd expect in a heavy aircraft. Not blistering speed performance, we are doing 100 miles per hour. Indicated. So it's a lovely good aircraft to actually look, nice little tall VFR altitudes and lower, and able to just take the time and look at the scenery. Say not fully aerobatic, good roll rate, but as soon as you start to try and climb altitude, you are doing engine management, and you keep an eye on that airspeed indicator. Landing should be quite simple. We don't have to worry about flaps, we don't have to worry about undercarriage. Undercarriage is fixed and flaps are obviously non-existent. So our landing lights on. I think the approach pattern and speed of this aircraft is about 80 miles an hour indicated. a nose wheel, sorry, a tail wheel aircraft. So we do have the age-old problem of if you do hold the brakes a little bit too much, the tail does want to come up. Obviously, like I say, visibility of forward is what I expected, i.e. bloody difficult. Good shutdown sounds as well. So let's stop Trackir from going all over the place. So landing lights can come off, beacon lights can come off, AV lights can come off, max wall off, alternators off, batteries off. So there we have it. Another aircraft from Carenado. Another good aircraft from Carenado. The WYMF5 is a slightly different aircraft than what you expect. I haven't seen too many people flying these aircraft. It is general aviation from a different era, from like the 1930s. Brought up to date with semi-up-to-date avionics. Like I say, it doesn't have an autopilot, so that is a bit of a negative, but I suppose that is realistic. It is an aircraft that you would fly cross-country with a map. So if you had, what's the app called, Little Navmap, that would be a great addition to this aircraft. And I think it's a very, very good aircraft. Sounds are believable. Handling is believable. I would say the roll rate is what I expect out of a biplane. Essentially, you've got two wings, so you've got twice as much effectiveness on a turn. Speed is all right for the size of an aircraft, but obviously if you want to try and do some kind of aerobatics, you have to have the speed there before you start doing the aerobatics. It's not an aircraft you're going to be doing loops and stall turns and all that kind of stuff. You want one of those, go get a pit special. But it is a very good aircraft. It's just lazing around on a Sunday afternoon, flying around, having a look at your scenery, and I think for that, it's a very good aircraft. It is available for quite a low price. For some reason, Carenado released their planes. I can't remember how much I paid for this, but it's $14.99. So it's not going to break the bank balance, and I think that is what people sometimes miss when it comes to why they slag Carenado off. They compare them to aircraft that cost £30, £40, £50 in the UK. There are plenty of aircraft out there that are more functional, more accurate, more options, more repaints, and generally are better. But you pay for more. Carenado's catalogue is a varied selection of general aviation aircraft covering a wide group of years of the aircraft. We have single engine, we have twin engine, you have turboprop. I haven't featured a turboprop yet on the channel from Carenado. That'll be an interesting one. I'm not really a fan of turboprops in reality, but I'm willing to give it a shot. But in this case, it is a very unique aircraft, very good sound. I think it handles quite well. It is functional for what I'd expect, and for the price point, can't be beat. So I think it's a very good aircraft. I think this is one of the better ones for Carenado. They make a good selection of catalogue of aircraft. This is definitely up there with being one of the better aircraft for Carenado, from Carenado. So I will drop a link in the video below, in the description below even, of this aircraft where you can pick it up from. I believe it's available on FlightSim's marketplace. But if it's not, it's available on FlightSim. Oh, sorry, not FlightSim. It's available on Carenado's own website. I believe it's available for 2024, although this is 2020, so I'm not 100% on that. But if you have any questions or comments about this particular aircraft, bang them below. If you have any questions or comments about the scenery we've used, this is a freeware variant of the Duxford Imperial War Museum Duxford, which is available on flightsim.to. Link will be below in the description for where you can pick that up. Completely free, just sign in for flightsim.to and you can get this fantastic payware class scenery for free. So, if you, like I say, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in a future Microsoft Flight Simulator video even, very, very soon.